Isn't it funny that the first thing Anna, it's so funny. My mother watched the video I made of TYT and she said, now, who is this Ana Asparagus woman? I said, my God, today, Rosemary. But the first thing Ana Asparagus does is run and get a blackface that has her opinion. And where does she go? She goes to Black MAGA.
Welcome everyone. My name is Sean, and once again, we have to do a story, a tale as old as time, which is somebody who used to work at TYT, now getting into it with one of the main hosts. However, in this particular case, the guy is called Ben Dixon, somebody I've never heard of in my entire life. He's one of these race hustler type of creators, and he's targeting Ana Kasparian, or Ana Asparagus, as he not so cleverly has named her, due to the fact that Ana is not interested in the race hustling stories, and she thinks that people who set additional fires in the state of California are scum as they're going through the worst wildfires in the city of Los Angeles, where she lives. Yes, that sounds incredibly stupid. That sounds incredibly ridiculous, but you know what? We're gonna break this down throughout the course of this video, and you are going to understand by the end of this how petty and ridiculous this Ben Dixon person actually is. But before we do, I want to thank everybody who supports this channel via actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay.
So throughout my research, one of the things that I've discovered when looking into this story is that this is entirely personal for Ben Dixon. He feels like he got a bad contract from the Young Turks when he was producing content for their Facebook page, and therefore he's always had a grievance against him, and he's just been looking for an opportunity to express said grievance. However, the official kickoff of this particular controversy actually has to do with Mayor Mondale Robinson, who was a contributor on Rayshad Ritchie's show, which is in the TYT network, deciding that he's going to leave the Young Turks over the fact that Cenk and Ana are coming out against identitarian.
Go ahead. Being what you said, I'm announcing right now, I will do no more work. I don't know why. Something just said, I will do no more work with TYT though. In its current capacity, I will.
Oh, wow, bro.
No more content. I will be on no more shows. It's over for me. Like something just told me I have to say that. And I need to put it on Twitter. I need to text Cenk and Ana. Y'all can't call me for no more shows. I'm done with it.
What?
Yeah, in real life.
Are you serious?
I'm serious.
Damn, that's 100.
And look, we have talked about Mondale Robinson a couple of times on this channel. First and foremost, he was one of the chief people defaming the so-called city by Karen.
I think these black young men, specifically the one whose credit card was used to pull this bike out of the system, was attacked by a pregnant thug. Let's just call it what it is. Had this been reversed, everybody would have been up in uproar about how these black men have no care for life or people's rights or people's property. But when it's reversed, we talk about the first white man that ran up and tried to get them to reset the bike. Did you see at the end of the video, the young white man in black ran up aggressive as I'm assuming that pit bull was in Indiana. This is what happens when white women cry help, even when they don't deserve it. The exploitation of the word help in this case is unbelievable.
If you'll remember, this was the story that the left tried to tell you of a 36-year-old pregnant physician's assistant getting off her shift and allegedly going up to 4 black teenagers in order to rob them for their city bike. Again, a story that has never occurred ever. And what we ultimately ended up finding out is that the bike was under her account. These teenagers ended up shoving the bike back in the docking station in order to take it back from her, because essentially what they were doing is docking it for 5 minutes so that they could continue to ride it for free, because they had a pass that gave them unlimited rides up to about 60 minutes.
The fake tears on demand is unbelievable. She should be tried for endangering her fetus, her unborn fetus. She put that child in danger. Because had that young man reacted in a different way when she pushed him for something that he's already used his resources to pay for, it would have been a whole different situation. So she should be liable, not just for battery on him, but the attempted battery that she could have caused that fetus.
Now, obviously, anybody should have been able to look at that story and realize that never in the history of ever has a 36-year-old pregnant white woman who was working as a physician's assistant walked up to 4 black teenagers to rob them of anything, let alone a bicycle. The most likely explanation statistically happened in that particular case, and it was a media hoax that was pushed again by Mondale Robinson. And by the way, this isn't the first time he's been in some kind of racially charged controversy. So they actually had a monument in their little town. This initially started off as a Confederate monument. I believe his town is in and around 1,000 to 2,000 people. So what they ended up doing over time was start to add the names of people who died in other wars. So this once Confederate monument just became the war monument of this town. And Mondale Robinson, and understandably so, wanted to get rid of this monument because the Confederacy obviously fought for slavery, not something that he was about. But rather than go through the normal ordinary process, he decided to videotape himself destroying this monument.
And now we're still working to find that out, but it comes during one of the most turbulent periods in recent memory for this town, and it's all focused right here. This is the site where the mayor, Mondale Robinson, knocked over the town's former Confederate monument, which in later years also became their General Veterans Memorial.
It comes just over 2 weeks after this.
Drive it down.
Enfield Mayor Mondale Robinson destroyed the town's Confederate monument.
Yes, sir.
After the town council had voted to remove it 6 days earlier.
Death to the Confederacy around here.
The monument began as a Confederate memorial in the 1920s, but later added plaques for veterans of other wars, causing some in the community to protest the mayor's decision to knock it down. The day after it was destroyed, Chief Ayers and the Halifax DA asked the SBI to investigate the destruction of the monument. In a statement, the SBI says it's investigating the property damage and will send its findings to the Halifax DA, who could pursue criminal charges.
And of course, this was something that was just viewed as disrespectful, not the right way to go about it. Although I can understand and I can empathize with the black person who doesn't want to see monuments that they believe are to the Confederacy, regardless of if over time they added the names of other people from other wars, and that became something different to a lot of the residents of the town. But in addition to that, he also was investigated because he alleged that there was a hate crime being committed against him, where people were flinging around bags of birdseed with racist notes attached to it or something of the sort.
And before that, right before Juneteenth, people actually got letters on their front lawn. And those letters, they really had some hateful and alarming verbiage. Now, Gerardo Maury says just before the town's Juneteenth celebration, he woke up to letters on his lawn. He calls it concerning. Then this past Sunday, 2 men disturbed a pride celebration going on at United Church of Christ. Police gave them a trespassing notice and banned them from the church. Maury and the Enfield town manager say Enfield has no place for hate and it needs to change.
I like to be inclusive of all, so that kind of intimidation, it's concerning.
And because of the suspicious nature of that, especially with a guy who plays into racial politics nonstop, at one point in time, he was being investigated for staging that himself, and he obviously was very angry about that. And by the way, to my knowledge, there hasn't been a resolution to that investigation, so we don't know who actually threw the birdseed and whether or not he was involved. But anyway, that guy, obviously, because his whole life is based around identity politics and promoting himself, is not going to like that the network that he's a contributor to, and understandably so, is coming out against his bread and butter, his only trick, which is, of course, calling white people racist. So I actually totally understand him being somebody who's obsessed with race, who always pushes racial narratives, not liking that the main show that he is associated with in the overall network is coming out against people like him. So his resignation, in my opinion, totally fair.
In reality, we're talking about individuals whose politics is mostly based on, some fringe issue or some cultural issue that they have. It's not just that they care about that issue. It's that they've taken that issue and they've made it part of their identity, the core of who they are. Mm-hmm. And it's almost like what you would expect from religious zealots. And so there's a fundamentalism involved in the way that they treat these issues, and there's no room to negotiate. There's no room
She's talking about the left.
To maybe consider the thoughts and concerns of individuals. And so as they become more and more kind of like authoritarian in what they demand, they are pushing people away. And there are some issues in which the rights of one group might actually end up conflicting with the rights of another group, depending on what type of legislation you're pursuing. And so, of course, this has come up with the trans issue. And I've always been supportive of the transgender community, but when the rights of transgender people, particularly transgender women, start to cause some tension with the rights and freedoms of women or the perceived safety of women, well, let's have a conversation and avoid assuming the worst of the people who want to have a conversation.
Right when you're in danger. Bro, listen, let me tell you something. This woman, that statement in itself is so dangerous, and that ain't even it. Like if you just pull up some of the stuff she put on her Instagram, all of that, it's crazy enough, bro. I am disgusted with this willing to play games and the fact that they're saying that we are zealots. We are religious zealots on the left. Come on,
to Glenn Beck.
Also, to be clear, since we never got a resolution to that hate crime incident investigation to which he eventually was investigated for, if he was telling the truth, I would understand why he's really angry about racial politics and racial narratives, because from his perspective, again, if you believe he's telling the truth, he would have reported something that actually happened in his town and then been greeted with suspicion for it. So again, I can understand where Mondale Robinson is coming from in leaving TYT, and then he goes on this Ben Dixon show, which apparently this guy was also at TYT, and they start ragging on Ana Kasparian, calling her a Karen because, you know, she's white and a woman and disagrees with them, therefore let us hurl slurs in her direction because that's sensible. And of course, this is where he names her, or unless he already named her, Ana Asparagus.
Isn't it funny that the first thing Anna, you know, it's so funny. My mother watched the video I made of TYT and she said, now, who is this Ana Asparagus woman? I said, my God, today, Rosemary. But the first thing Ana Asparagus does is run and get a blackface that has her opinion. And where does she go? She goes to Black MAGA.
Now, to be clear, at this moment in time, when examining the facts of the story, didn't care about it. Not something that I was going to be all that interested in, and that's why I never made a video about this. However, Ana Kasparian actually ended up doing a podcast with Greg Foreman, who, by the way, I actually met at AmFest this past December, and this is a photo of us. He said I was overdressed because I was rocking the three-piece, but in reality, in actuality, the boys had decided that we were going to wear suits, and I was the best dressed, so shame on you, Greg, for criticizing me in that way. But I actually talked to him, and one of the things that I discovered about this particular podcast that he did with Anna is that despite the claims that these individuals put out there about how she brought on a black conservative in order to shield herself from the criticisms of Ben Dixon and Mondale Robinson, in reality, this was shot well before these people started going after her in this manner.
He's an idiot. And what I mean by that is that you can't deny what it means to be black in America. And the fact that Anna chose to post this person that she probably found because he was agreeing with her against us on our video talks further about where she finds herself on this spectrum of stupidity.
Imagine my shock. Imagine how stunned I was to discover that a bunch of different various people who push race hoaxes, who think everything is about racism against them, who sell that narrative for a living, when they wrongly assumed that her doing a podcast with this particular creator was somehow about them and somehow a racist and bigoted attack against them. Oh wait, I'm not shocked at all. That's what these individuals on the left always do. They always try to make it about identity. But again, this is the building up towards the point that we got to where Anna finally responded to them. And that is absolutely crucial because we're talking about over a month's worth of content where Ben Dixon is directly going after Ana Kasparian, and Anna is not really responding. And the thing that he interpreted as a response was actually a podcast that was recorded well before the incident in which he's claiming that they're responding to.
Folks, Anna is lost. The unmitigated caucasity of that white Karen.
She ain't lost, Ben. She knows exactly where she at.
No. She's lost in terms of the progressive movement. She's a lost cause. No pun, pun seriously intended. Let's play this. Here's why Anna posted this dude all of a sudden, just 7 hours ago. I wonder why she posted this dude.
Democrats don't care about democracy. See, that's the thing about these individuals that really kill me. It's like, you talk about how much you care about democracy. Okay, well, if you care about democracy, you should criticize your side of the aisle for overthrowing democracy within their own party, not having a real primary, always finagling their own primaries against progressive candidates, right? This is the same side of the aisle that finagled the primaries against Bernie in 2016 and 2020, according to them, okay? And then come 2024, hey, they really didn't even have a primary. And then they turned around and got rid of Joe Biden because they figured out that he couldn't beat Trump. And they still refuse to have another primary.
So that's the prelude. That's the setup. You have a Pastor Ben Dixon, who is very angry at Ana Kasparian, but in reality, undergirding all of this is anger at the Young Turks, which we will get into a little bit later. And he's masking all of his personal grievances against them as disagreements on policy. And of course, he has repeatedly said falsehoods about Ana Kasparian in particular and about TYT. However, we get to the wildfires, and of course, a bunch of these progressive Democrats are going into defense mode for Karen Bass, that they're going into defense mode for Gavin Newsom, and I have multiple different videos, by the way, where I refute, dispute, debunk, and destroy these particular narratives. Also, I will point out that friend of the channel, Devin Tracy's family home, his parents' home, has been burned down, and he is raising money for that, so I will link in the description of this video for you to help his parents get back on their feet, because there are real consequences of this fire, and the consequences go beyond petty disputes between former TYT hosts and current TYT hosts. But anyway, Ana Kasparian puts out this very sensible, reasonable tweet. Obviously, she is angry about California's mismanagement that Ben immediately decides to turn around and lie about. So Ana says, California, and especially LA, is controlled by Democrats. They are responsible. No more passing the buck. Our mayor, who was in Ghana as fires exploded in our city, cut the fire budget by $17 million. Endless amounts of money funneled to BS scammer homeless nonprofits. We're living in the highest tax, yet we have encampments and squalor everywhere. Even worse, we don't have enough firefighters to respond to the absolute disaster we're experiencing right now. Rather than conserve the record rain we got last year, we just drained it into the ocean. We are a failing city run by a sick excuse for a local government. You want to radicalize people against the modern Democratic Party? Send them to LA. Now, you'll notice that highlighted in the screenshot by Ben Dixon is this caption right here about money funneled to BS scammer homeless nonprofits, and the fact that they are the highest tax and they have encampments and squalor everywhere. Now, he tweets this out, by the way, next to a photo with an image of the Ana Asparagus logo with the quote, "so bitter" attached to it, and he decided that he was going to add this commentary right here. Ana Asparagus, oops, I mean at Ana Kasparian, really, all caps, hates homeless people. She's so bitter, she is blaming the LA fires on the money the city of LA gave to homeless people. And look, again, all caps, at all the squalor out there. I was going to leave TYT alone, but as long as you all have this bird brain traitor to progressives and the unhoused working there, you don't deserve another penny, all caps, from progressive dollars. Gonna drop a new video on these clowns in the morning, absolutely disgusting, Ana, be better. Now again, I'm gonna link this particular thread in the description of this video so you can check it out for yourself, but needless to say, when you look at what Ana Kasparian actually wrote, and then you look at what Ben Dixon wrote, either he is lying, which is entirely possible, or he is incredibly stupid and borderline illiterate, because Ana was not attacking homeless people. What she was pointing out is that California incinerates money on these homeless nonprofits, which Ana has been going after for years, and there are no good results from giving them all this money. Again, there was just an investigation that uncovered that $24 billion were spent on homeless services by the California government. Much of that money was unaccountable, and guess what? Homelessness went up, not down. Up, not down. So what Ana is criticizing is the way money is wasted on supposedly providing for the homeless, when in reality it enriches people in the nonprofit business. But of course, Ben Dixon, being the absolute buffoon that he is, or the liar that he is, pick one, Ben, I will let you have the option, decides to instead say Ana is insulting the homeless people. Because again, if you don't want to funnel money of the taxpayers to these organizations where people make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year running those organizations, giving homeless people crack pipes to enable them, and of course all these other different various things that have not reduced homelessness in the state of California, you must hate the homeless people. You must hate the hobos. You must hate the unhoused. Again, one of these progressive terms that tries to disassociate responsibility from these people and their own lives. And this is the narrative that Ben Dixon is going with. And of course, this was the straw that broke the camel's back. This is what pushed Ana too far, and she ended up responding in an epic way. Poor Ben got super salty that TYT gave Rayshad a show over his boring ass. So much so that he's now defending the misuse of public funds that were specifically allocated for homeless people. Nice job covering up for the thieves who robbed California's homeless population of $24 billion in 5 short years. And somehow it's totally fine for this bigot to mock an Armenian last name. So yeah, even though this was clearly clear and obvious from Ana Kasparian's first tweet, the one that Ben Dixon had a problem with. Ana reiterates her point that it's not about attacking homeless people, it's about attacking the government that uses spending on the homeless as an excuse to incinerate money and that don't actually help homeless people. And by the way, since they don't have unlimited money, that $24 billion that was wasted came out of something, and that something could have very easily been fire prevention and water storage, which again is all contained in the original tweet and reiterated right here. But of course, Ben Dixon has a personal grievance against the Young Turks. He is upset about a contract issue when he was an independent contractor, so he's going to take this opportunity, the first response that he's gotten, to mention the contract. Because again, this is what it's really all about. The homeless people are just a prop, a vehicle for him to deliver this personal grievance and talk about the contract issues. So let us get into that particular tweet. Actually, I left TYT because you were making money off of me on YouTube and didn't say anything to me about it while only paying me for Facebook. How many other content creators have you done this to? You and Cenk Uygur, at Cenk Uygur, by the way. I'm quite sure Judith Benazera has the details. She was livid, all caps, when I told her I wouldn't let you all steal from me. But congrats on shedding the last part of your ethnic self. You're a full white woman, now trying to pit me against Rashad Ritchie. We down like 4 flat tires. I was one of his first guests on his show. Enjoy being full MAGA, all caps, Ana Asparagus, Ana Kasparian. Now, he ends up attaching images of excerpts of the contract that go over the payment structure that he had for Facebook, and this is what he's actually angry about. This is what is actually upsetting him, and of course, the issue is money. Now, you can see right here, for the excerpt of this contract, it says that the client, which is TYT, shall pay the contractor, which is Ben Dixon, $100 per program video delivered to the client. The contractor shall invoice at the end of each month for the program videos delivered to the client that month. The client shall verify and pay such invoices within 30 days. Now, of course, they have a bonus for each video that achieves a certain amount of views, provided that the video is not demonetized by Facebook, and the program video accrues the following schedule of 60-second views as defined by Facebook Inside Data within 12 weeks after its first publication on the client's Facebook page. The Tier 1 bonus, which is for 250,000 60-second views, is $500. The Tier 2 bonus, which is for 500,000 60-second views, is $800. Tier 3, 750,000 60-second views for $1,000. Tier 4, 1,000,000 60-second views for $1,200. And to be clear, it's not like you get all the tiers combined. The highest tier bonus that you can get is $1,200. Now look, even though this absolutely should have nothing to do with the matter at hand, which is supposedly a deep political issue that Ben Dixon morally has with the Young Turks and the way that they're coming out against identity politics, and Ana Kasparian in particular, supposedly attacking homeless people, which she's not doing, by the way, and was just made up by Ben Dixon, I do want to point out that this contract for an independent contractor is incredibly low. Honestly, I'm somebody who has from time to time employed independent contractors as a little testy test in order to make shorts, and I did not in any way, shape, or form pay them this little money compared to the work that they would have put in. So just to be clear about that, I actually don't think this moolah is actually all that good for the services that were being provided. However, Ben Dixon could be just a low-tier content creator, or he could be somebody that's giving them clips from his regular ordinary show that he already produces, so it could be bonus money for him. He did, after all, sign this contract, but on its own, if this was the income expected from somebody that I was working with, I would not be paying them that little. I'm gonna be perfectly honest, but who knows? I don't really understand the whole Facebook system, so maybe this is a sensible, reasonable thing, and I'm just overpaying the people that I interact with. I don't know. Just somebody explain it to me in the comments. Now, with all that being said, even though independently I can examine this contract and say it's not something, again, based on the limited excerpts that I've seen, that I would offer to somebody, I will say this has nothing to do with anything. This has nothing to do with the issue at hand, and I find it quite ironic that Ben Dixon, who calls people like Ana Kasparian and Cenk a grifter oftentimes, saying that they're obsessed with money, is actually angry about a financial dispute with Young Turks, and he's masking that under the guise of a political dispute. This is what we would call a grift, where you're taking certain political positions when in reality you are concerned with money. You are concerned with drawing the audience to you. You are concerned with your petty revenge, and it's not genuine. Again, and if it wasn't for the fact that his tweet was so stupid, so asinine, so ridiculous, pretending that Ana was attacking homeless people, I would just say that these two things are, maybe don't connect them, but I think they are in fact connected. He wants to go after Ana for being a hater of the homeless, even though there's no hate for the homeless in her tweet right there. And the real reason he's going after her and Cenk and the Young Turks is because he's unhappy about a contract that he was dumb enough to sign in the first place. Now look, that is my highly analytical response based on the information that is being presented to me, but Ana decided to go in a different direction, and she was like, you know what? You're gonna hit me personally. Take this, Ben. I'm gonna try to ruin your life. I'm gonna tell people who you really are. So let's read Ana's reply. You're a loser, Ben. You think you're a talented broadcaster deserving of your own show, but you didn't want to do the work. You violated the contract you yourself signed. You were difficult to work with because you felt entitled to special treatment like some sort of diva. You're a horrible person, and my patience with you has run out. Now look, I agree. Under the cover of all this, Ana Kasparian is racist. I gotta save the blacks. I am the savior of all black people against these evil white racist women that are definitely ruining the lives of black people each and every day. He's angry about a contract dispute that, again, he signed. He was dumb enough to ignore these clear and obvious terms of service that he didn't like, and then he got upset about it after the fact. And by the way, if there was an issue of him not realizing that they were going to license these videos and post them on YouTube, he should have brought them up in the appropriate form. It's not like this contract was a 10-year deal or something like that he couldn't get out of. It was a contract between his media company and the Young Turks media company, and if you're upset about it, as an adult, you actually reach out and argue your case within the confines of your agreement. In addition to that, you negotiate different things in the new contract that you would sign. So again, even though I think I would never offer somebody that little money per video, that's not something that I would do, the fact of the matter is, Benny should have been able to negotiate around that if he didn't like the money. Now, of course, he responds by saying, just like you all busted up your own union, just like you all sold the rights to the studio, progressive dollars built, all caps, to @Polymarket, quote, welcome back to TYT, home of the progressives, at the, quote, Polymarket crypto gambling studios. Hang in there, you're full MAGA, all caps. You didn't leave the left, all caps. You betrayed it. Now, look, I know some people are not going to believe this. You're going to think it's predetermined that I'm on Ana Kasparian's side versus this Ben Dixon guy's side, but I genuinely do try to assess the facts of each and every one of these situations individually and come to my own conclusions. And you can watch videos of when I was attacking the Young Turks for being wrong. If Cenk or Ana said something correct in any of those videos, I would give them credit for that. And you could also look at my previous video, the last one that I released on Ana, where I called her out for bad takes on the housing market when I believe she should know better on why prices are so high in certain areas. So to be clear, I do try to assess this on a case-by-case basis. And in my opinion, Ben Dixon completely wrong right here. First and foremost, he was just lying about Ana Kasparian. He's making crazy assumption after crazy assumption, never apologizing for it, never retracting that. And again, he's using this all as a conduit in order to mask the fact that he has grievances that are not related to the political issue. So he's doing this holier-than-thou kind of attitude, and he's jumping from topic to topic. And in terms of the TYT union, to be clear, Cenk Uygur had actually always made it clear that he was not in favor of unions in smaller companies. We have seen digital media have their workforce unionized, and that ultimately end up being the thing that is a precursor to those digital media outlets ending up going under or severely losing out on employees in the future. So it's a perfectly understandable position for Cenk to be opposed to that at that period of time. And I have nothing against people not wanting their workforce to unionize, because that creates a bunch of different problems, especially in a digital digital media company where you have limited resources and you're very vulnerable to advertising shocks. So again, this is why I didn't go after Cenk even back in the day for the union busting allegations, because Cenk has never been a particularly pro-union progressive, especially when it comes to smaller companies or small businesses. Let's be clear about that. In terms of the Polymarket studio naming rights, look, if they paid him money in order to do that and that allows him to keep staff on board, I don't have an issue with that. Polymarket is one of these betting markets where you can do the odds and whatnot, and people can get angry and call it crypto gambling to make it sound more scary. But the fact of the matter is, the prediction markets are often more accurate than the polling. So these are valuable tools in our system. And I'm honestly really put off by the idea that a bunch of these prediction markets have to exist outside of the country because of ridiculous US laws that restrict them. So again, you can be upset about that, but the fact of the matter is, selling naming rights and whatnot is something that a business can do in order to stay afloat. And let's be perfectly honest, Pastor Ben's live streams, the look of them, the quality of them are nowhere near as sophisticated as the operation that Cenk Uygur is running. He doesn't have anywhere near the employees, I would presume, that Cenk Uygur has that he's responsible for. So it's kind of crazy that if Cenk had to lay off a bunch of people, this guy would attack him for that. But then taking money from an organization just for the naming rights of your studio, suddenly that's a big deal, even though that keeps a bunch of people in the office fed. I mean, again, everybody runs advertisements to a certain degree. Again, there's a more direct advertisement when you name your damn studio after them. I understand that. But the problem I have with all of these criticisms is that they seem to spring out after Ana refutes a specific point put forward by Ben, and he jumps on to another thing because he's just desperate to attack them in order to get revenge, because the core of this, in my opinion, is that he's angry about the contract that he signed. And again, I'm trying to be extraordinarily fair to Ben Dixon. I'm trying to say that, you know what? I would not have signed that contract. I would be upset if I signed that contract. But as a man, as an adult, you have to take some responsibility and accountability for your own actions. And guess what? I don't see any of that from Ben. But of course, when his whole shtick is that every plight, every struggle of every black person ever is due to the closest white person or some white person out there in the ether, I'm not surprised that he can't take accountability himself, and he's decided that Ana Kasparian is the author of his peril, because how dare Ana Kasparian disagree with him politically and blah blah blah. I can't negotiate my own contract because I'm kind of a loser. My name is Ben Dixon and this is my raging out, my flaming out kind of take. But you know what? Those are just my thoughts. I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. If you like the video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on my social medias, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about the nonsensical fight between Ben Dixon and Ana Kasparian. Till next time.